You know what it really goes back to is the old hindsight's 2020.
Of course it is. Yeah.
If I could, yeah, if I could. But I have to tell you something though, Kevin. That somebody asked me the other day, well, Carl, if you could do it all over again, what would you do different? I honestly don't know if I'd have done anything different. Cause, dude, if I'd have done something different, like maybe I wouldn't have met you.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time, and I don't know what the adage is, but it's not a mistake if you learn from it type of thinking. It really does make sense. I've made a ton of mistakes, obviously, but each time I've tried to figure out what went wrong, why, and then not repeat that action in
Yeah,
the future. And I think the
yeah.
trials and tribulations were more important to the long-term success than the road of ease. You know what I
And
mean?
yeah, I think going through hard times, cause man, I've been through some hard times.
Sure.
And I always like you. I don't appreciate the air conditioning until I've been out in the desert. I don't
Right.
appreciate a glass of water until I've been just dying of thirst.
Right.
So not it's not such a bad. Makes me sharpen my not in an uncool way, but it makes me sharpen my axe. Kind of
Absolutely, it
thing.
does. It
Yeah,
does.
we build muscles when somebody puts weights on our barbells.
Yep.
So
Yep.
but anyway, so I thought what we'd do here just for a little bit I posted this thing of, hey, if you could go back and do something different, or what do you wish you'd have known earlier in your career? And I thought there's some interesting things here. So I'll read you one, and I'll just get your feedback on it, see if
Yeah,
you agree
sure.
with it. So this guy, and I don't have permission. I can't remember if I told him I was going to share, so I'm just going to use first names here.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But so Daniel said, "Boy, this is a good one." Daniel says, "I wish Kevin Broughton. I wish I would have stayed more focused on what I can control, and far less focused on those things that I have absolutely no control on." What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I love that one, Carl, because a couple reasons. I preached this every single day when the market was on fire. And then after it turned, it was on or about December 15th of 2021. Um, I knew this was going to be a challenge, and I prayed every day that people wouldn't do, but what a lot of them did. And I think Daniel points it out here. We spent a lot of time complaining and worrying about things that we had nothing to do with. When rates hit 2.625 or whatever the low point got to, I'm pretty sure everybody realized that was a government induced punch bowl that we were happy to have our ladle in, but it was going to end one day. And as rates started to climb, I heard loan officers, one after another, all day complaining about rising rates, about rate compression, about investor fears and aggregators worry about what the value of a closed mortgage is. Who can control any of that? The Fed doesn't give a darn what my opinion of interest rates is. Uh, these huge aggregators don't care what I think the value of a mortgage is. They're going to pay what they're going to pay. And I think that that's a great point Daniel makes, is that if we could do it all over, if we would have just focused every single hour of every single day on the DSP, a lot of
Yeah.
people wouldn't have been put in the position they were in a year after the meltdown. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I did, brother. I couldn't agree with you more. It's like I'll see people spend all this time predicting what rates are going to be, tomorrow, next week, next month.
Yeah,
And if you're managing the hedge funds for the company, great activity,
right.
right? Great activity. If you're not managing the hedge fund, which my suspicion is all but maybe three that listen to this podcast would fall into the category of not being the head fund manager, right?
Correct.
I'm sure there's one or two or three, but out of the tens of thousands that listen to this,
Yeah.
I would
99.9% do not.
do not. And if they would have spent that same amount of time that they spent predicting rates and studying bars and graphs and things like that, if they spent that same time marketing the rates, they find out the market doesn't dictate my success, my actions or lack thereof. Is
100% true. It's
yeah,
totally non-negotiable what you just
yeah,
said there. It's 100% true that your actions dictate your altitude. That's it,
yeah,
or your demise.
yeah. And I think, look, I think maybe if I, from a personal interest, if I'm looking to see what the market's doing, just so I don't know, maybe I find it interesting or something.
Sure.
It's like I enjoy studying the stars and the celestial thing. Awesome, great hobby. But yeah, my focus is going to be on. I found my great success when I found out that I was a marketer of my services above all else. So anyway, I like that
But
one.
I think just one last thing on that, you've used the term over the years, creative avoidance, right?
Hmm.
And I think that those
Tell, tell,
realities in
talk,
the
talk about
market,
that just for a second.
yeah. Um, if you think about it, at times this is the heaviest piece of machinery in the office, right? The
Holding
phone.
holding up your phone for those people that, yeah,
Yeah. And oftentimes people, myself included, find it easier to sit around and discuss things out of our control than it is to do the marketing efforts that we know produce
mhm,
sustainable and repeatable results, right?
yeah,
So what we deemed or you deemed as creative avoidance is finding things to do that make you appear busy. And so there's some sort of self-gratification at 5:30 to say I worked all day today or I was busy today, right? And what changed my life without a shadow of a doubt is the day I stopped using the word busy and implemented the word productive and did a
mm,
self-assessment every day at the end of the day is was I productive today or was I not? And it's a very simple, if you're honest with
period.
yourself, it comes
Yeah,
crystal clear. And so the creative avoidance is finding things outside of your control that you can spend time on to avoid doing the the tasks that actually produce a result and then claiming you were busy, and
yeah,
so that to me, when I hear like rates and things that we had no control over, to me I saw a lot of people talk about those things in lieu of doing other things so that I think they could justify in their mind that they were busy, you know what I mean?
yeah. I was studying, right? I
Yeah.
was studying that, but yeah, studying may or may not be the best income activity.
And there's times
Yeah,
to study,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
again,
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah. I'm
studying
not.
and yeah.
I'm not suggesting you walk around dumb as a brick. I'm not
No,
saying that
no,
at
we need to
all.
be apprised of the market realities, but what we can't do is expound exorbitant amounts of time
Yeah,
on things that no one in the world cares about our opinion of.
yeah,
Like I want rates to be 4%, but last time I checked, there's zero people in the world that care about what I want them to be,
yeah, yeah. And maybe be a thing if we put a time to it. Maybe be 10% on market and industry news, and the other 90% in marketing our services. Kind of thing. Something maybe be something like that. Anyway, all right. Next one here. This comes from Rick, and Rick says he's actually got two here. So let's do his first one. He says, "In my business life, I wish I would have hit the phones harder to reach out to my database earlier on." What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I think we're all crystal clear on what really happened. I mean, when you could walk into the grocery store in October of 2020, and if there were 10 people in line that had a mortgage, all 10 of them could benefit from your services. It
Yeah,
was not the hardest thing in the world to get business, correct?
yeah,
And I think we all saw this, and I think on some level, every one of us is guilty of this, hopefully at a small amount, but some a huge amount. When we got into that reality, we thought, well, maybe this will never end, and this is the new real. And we didn't have to prospect that much, and we didn't have to maintain the relationships. Because how many people do you and I know? Because I personally know over 100, and I'm sure you probably know 1,000 that hit on realtors at that time where the realtor said, "Oh, I'm glad you called. My guy hasn't talked to me in 6 months," or something like that.
sure.
And
Hmm.
so I like what Rick says here that and as we get to another, we're going to have these cyclical realities. I don't think we're going to see rates in the twos ever again, personally, but we're going to have ebbs and flows just like every market does. And there's going to be a time again where we're doing refinances, right? And I just think that the people that never strayed from the belief of my core business is purchase and my core reason for doing purchases is my incredible relationships with people that can refer me purchases. I understand where Rick's coming from. It was hard to
Yeah,
juggle the time and the hours back then to doing the deals that were falling into your lap right then versus maintaining relationships. But if you didn't maintain those relationships when the party ended, you were in trouble. And so I agree with what Rick said. And if you had to do it all over again, maintaining and growing and constantly improving and deepening and strengthening the relationships that got you to where you were can
Yeah.
never be minimized, you know?
Yeah. I think a mistake a lot of people make is they think, well, all right, so I haven't been past marketing in my past database, which simply means just calling them up and asking them how they're doing.
Right,
Right. I mean, this is real simple stuff.
right.
That say it's been 3 years, 4 years, maybe 5 years on some of these, maybe longer
Yep.
that I closed them. Now it's going to be weird if I call them.
I've
And,
heard
and
that 100 times, Carl, but again, I hate to say this, but if you choose to work and live in an excuse-free environment, that's an excuse.
mm,
It is. And I wish it weren't, but it is, because what you're doing is placing way more importance on yourself when you say that than what these
yeah,
people think of you. They don't really care, you know.
yeah,
They if they like you and they trust you and you called them and 3 years later and said, "Oh my God, how are you?" It can just naturally go into a conversation. If you brought no value to them, if they truly don't give a darn about you, yeah, it's a problem making that call. But if you played an active role in them getting a great outcome, you should have confidence calling them, even if you just said things like, "Hey, Carl, it's Kevin. How are you?"
good.
"Hey, good. I'm glad you're good. I'm so sorry we haven't chatted in so long, but I was just thinking about you today. Gosh, that decision you made 3 years ago to buy in the area you did turned out to be an incredible decision for you. The equity that you've built up
Mhm.
in the home is incredible. You're still at 123 Main Street, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Hey, I was just calling because of this. I just read this crazy article and it was kind of interesting, but it said that for the first time in the history of our country, Americans have amassed more consumer debt than ever before. And they also have more equity in their homes than at any point in the history of our country. It's kind of a strange dual dynamic there. You don't happen to have any cash needs or anything going on in your life that would, you'd benefit from taking some of
Mm.
that equity out personally, would you?
Yeah, and I see where you're I think that's a great script, and I think the idea that holds most people back is because I haven't called them, it's going to be weird if I do. But I know when I first started calling my past database, which was not when I first got in the business, by the way, that I think I was about my third year in, and one of my past people called me up, and I went, "Holy cow, that was the easiest loan I've ever done."
Right,
I think I'm onto something here that I'm going to share with the world. If we call those people that we work with in the past, we'll get more loan. Not knowing that everybody else was already doing that. I was the
right,
only one that wasn't, right? But
right.
what I found that when I started calling these people, I had zero instances where they'd say, "Well, why'd you wait 3 years to call me?" Like ever. Like I literally have never had somebody say that. And I think
What's the acronym for fear false evidence appearing real?
yeah, I've
That's a
and
classic example of
the funny thing that even happened when I called people where things went bad.
it.
You know,
Right, right,
I don't have time to share the story now, but I had this one, and man, this person was crazy, and I'd kind of forgotten who they were until I picked up the phone. I'm calling them, and I hear this person's voice, and I went, "Oh
oh,
no, it's that person, right?" And
right,
I thought, "Oh dear God." And we ended up working together again. And this person, it was a lady. She didn't even remember, 'cause she said, "Well, it's funny, me and Tom are looking to buy another house, and is that something you can help us with?" I said, insert in name. If It seemed like something happened last time, and if you could remind me what that was, I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. She goes, I don't think so. Could have been too bad, and we wouldn't be talking now. And it was bad. Like it was really bad.
but the
And
point is, she didn't remember. It was
she
three,
didn't even
four
remember
years
it.
later, and she moved on with her life, and she liked you, and you ended up
Yeah.
working with her
And,
again.
and and I tell you, probably a month didn't go by that I didn't think of that situation. And I just didn't tie her name into the person I called until she answered the phone and went, "Oh dear God, I've screwed up here." And the worst of the worst. Not that she was the worst person. It was a worse situation.
Right, right.
And how
I think it just proves a point, Carl. At the end of the day, here's the reality. You're going to make a choice every morning to create, keep, or grow a customer, or you're not. That's just a fact. And so
Mm,
if the phone gets heavy, the phone gets heavy. The question becomes, how important is this to you? If
yeah,
you if you have important enough in your life that this is what you are, this is who you are, and that you're a prospector and a marketer of your services, you're going to pick up that phone, you're going to call, and you're not going to worry about what happens on the end. Because like you said, the worst case scenario possibly that could have come out of that call is that lady said, "Oh my God, you're that guy that caused me all that grief 5 years ago. No
You still
thanks."
suck, Carl. You
Yep,
still suck.
she hangs
Worst
up
case
on you.
scenario. Yeah.
Yep, worst case scenario. So who
Yep.
cares? You
Yeah.
know?
Hey, that kind of leads to the next one here. This comes from Josh. You know Josh, right? You know who Josh
I
is?
love that guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a great, great man in Tennessee. I know
Yeah.
exactly. I'm a big
So,
fan.
so we'll give his last name. So Josh Rogers.
Love this
And
guy.
Josh said, what I wish I would have done was I wish I hadn't have waited for everything to be perfect. Just act, figure it out as you go. Boy, is that some wisdom there.
Yeah,
You know,
I call that production before perfection. And
mm,
I think he hit it right on the head here. I think many of us have suffered from the perfect, and again, it kind of goes back to what we hit on in the first 5 minutes of this conversation that, you know, it's easier sometimes to sit around. I'm going to wait because that ain't exactly right. Well, the fact again is most people don't know if it's exactly right, nor do they care. It I know guys and gals in this business that are doing really well. They're not surviving right now, they're thriving right now. And it's because they didn't wait. And they didn't say, "Oh, everything in my system is 100% perfect." If they're waiting for that, I yet to find perfect. Have you?
yeah, no, yeah. I had a this might come across the wrong way, but if you knew the guy, you'd understand. So, one of my first mentors, not in our business, named Rick Raditz. I'm probably zero people on this call know who Rick is, but Rick, just a phenomenal person in my life, and I'm forever grateful for him. And I remember he I was at his he had this little get together at his house up in Breckenridge. He had a ski cottage. Lived in
Nice.
Denver, had a ski cottage in Breckenridge. And so we're at this little ski cottage. There's like 15, 20 of us there doing this mastermind thing. And he stood up. I said something. He stood up. He said, "Carl, come here." And I walked up to him. Super nice guy, right? He literally grabs me by both of my shoulders and he literally shakes me. He said, "Carl, if I could tell you one thing, it would be to go get a black permanent marker and write on your forehead backwards so you see it every day when you look in the mirror, and it says ship, SHIP, ship crap, ship crap." So he spent the next 20 minutes telling me what that meant, and what it meant was it does, look, don't send out crap. I'm not saying that, and he wasn't saying that.
Right.
What he was saying is just put something together and start doing it. Just
Right.
start doing it. And you'll be so much further ahead that way because we don't learn, like Kevin, you and I have this thing that we go, hey, the purpose of version one, the only purpose of version one is not to get results. The only reason you're doing version one of something is to get you to version two.
That's right.
And the only reason you do version two
To get
is
you to
to get
three.
you to version three. And version three is where it starts to work.
Yep.
And that's really what he was saying. So we're not suggesting ship crap, per se, but we're
Right.
saying get version one out there and just start doing it so you can hurry up and get to version two so you can get to version three. And version three is when you start cashing checks.
Well, it's funny you say that because I have a loan officer that I think they like me and they like to kind of rely on me for some guidance around scripting. They just, whatever reason, think I'm good at that. Right. And
Maybe it's because you're good at
I don't know about that.
it.
But anyhow, this person is really nice and I like this person. But they call me about every week and we go over these scripts. And I recently said to this person, I said, "Hey, I'm going to stop doing this." And they said, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, how many times have you delivered the script yet?" "Well, I'm really working on how to say this part like the best." And I'm like, "This is not good. This is, you're waiting for perfect. You're never
Mm.
going to get per. You don't know what the other person's going to say. Just be authentic, be on your toes, be smart. And You've practiced enough. Let's go. Time is to go. It's not ready. Aim, 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 aim. It's ready. Aim, fire. Let's go fire. It's time to fire
Yeah.
now. And this person was like wanting to just keep talking about, what do you say back if this realtor says this? I don't know. I would just use my instincts and be authentic and tell the truth, you know? And so, yeah, I hear exactly what you're saying. And I think it's not about shipping crap. It's about starting, because
Yeah.
version 1.0 is never perfect. I'm on version 5.0 of this, 6.0 of this thing we've been trying to do for years. It's still not perfect, but it's better than most because we do it every day, you know? And we do it imperfectly every day, but it's yielding incredible results because we never ever stop.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. Hey, we got a couple more here, but I try to keep these things at about the 30-ish minute mark, and I see we're kind of coming up on that a little bit.
Gosh, I didn't even
Um,
realize that. It
uh,
goes fast when
how,
we get to
how,
chat.
how about you, man? What's one thing what's one thing you wish you'd have known earlier in the game?
Um, I wish I had known that in building something special, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And I
Mm,
used to, when I was young and dumb and broke, I used to think you could sprint to incredible results. And what I learned is it's a body of work that takes a lot of time. And we did build something special, but it was a 22-year culmination of a lot of daily tasks, you know,
yeah.
and so I think if I had two things, it would be the value of consistency, and something special's a marathon, not a sprint. I guess would be two things I wish I had known earlier on in my life.
Yeah. For me, mine's going to kind of go off of the mortgage industry a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, so when I was about, I'm sitting here trying to remember when I, I was probably about 42, I think.
Okay.
And I met this guy that was a pivotal moment in my financial career, or not career, my personal financial life.
Yeah.
And he told me to save 25%. And man, that's been a game changer. And boy, I wish I'd have known that sooner. What he taught me though, could like when I first like when he taught me this, I was just getting in the mortgage business, right?
Right.
And man, it was tough. It was tough. And I had just left a a good six-figure career that I just didn't care for though.
Right.
I was burned out, right?
Right.
And but I was making a good, when I say a good six figure, I was making about, and this is back in 1999. I was making about $150, about 150.
That
And
was
in
darn good in
1999,
1999. Yeah.
yeah, that's probably, I don't know what, 300 a day, maybe something like that, or,
Yeah. Somewhere in that ballpark. Yeah.
approaching there, 250, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And so a good income. And then I started writing loans. And I went from 250 for at least for the first handful of months, down to, not much.
Right.
And he told me, you got to save 25%. And I told him, well, you know what? As soon as I get back up to where I was in income, that's when I'll start doing it. And he said, Carl, if you wait till then, it'll never happen.
That never
He
happened. Yeah.
said, if you ever say soon as blank, then I'll blank,
Yeah.
that will never happen. You start doing it today. And he said, by the way, you save your 25%. And you go, well, gee, I don't have enough to make my own mortgage payment this
Right.
month. Well, I guess you need to pick up the phone and make some more sales in, don't you? And so
How often have you been able to achieve that?
since he told me that, I have never missed a month.
Wow.
I have never missed a month. And let me just clarify, Kevin. Thanks to the lovely Mrs. White.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So
we all
so
need, yeah, we all
we
need
have
that.
now again, it's 25%. So in those early days when maybe I was only closing, I think it took me like 6 months before I had my first 10-month close, or 10 closing month, right? It took
Okay.
6 months. So you figured like month four, something like, I met this guy like early. So here on month four, it was like, you know, I didn't close maybe three or four. And again, I was used to $150,000 income, and I wasn't making that now,
Right.
because I think I was on, if I remember right, I was on like a 30 basis points plan, which at the time was very generous because I didn't know squat. Like I didn't know
Right.
anything, and so I wasn't making much, and I thought, well, man, I just can't afford to do it. And when I learned that the 25% is not negotiable, the thing that is negotiable is how many prospecting calls I'm making and how many closings I'm making. That's negotiable. The 25% is written in stone. And I get when I hit about it took us about and this off the top of my head, it took us about from that point probably 12 or 13 years that work became optional. And so
Incredible. So at about 55, your work life was
that's
optional.
right. That's right. About 55, when I hit 55, work was optional. And so today, and I know the same for you, Kevin. So today, I strictly do this because really I have a passion for it and want to, which man, was a game changer, because then well, I got to do this, and well, I don't want to work with this agent, I don't want to work with this person, but I got to because I don't need it anymore.
It's
And
the
so now
biggest
it's
amount
like,
of freedom one can ever get. And
oh,
I've been
it's
very
wonderful.
fortunate as well. And I've, knock on wood and thank the Lord, I've had, been able to do the same thing as you and
Yeah.
save. And it just makes life easier because your choices just get better. I remember just like from our company standpoint, going way back, I remember begging guys to join our gals, like I had nobody and I needed their 2 loans or 4 loans or whatever it was. And it's like, and now we get to really truly only attract folks that mirror our core values and that we know, like, and trust. And there's something so neat about being able to work with folks that you know, like, and trust. And it's just a blessing. And you have that in your business. I have it in mine. Many of the loan originators here have it in theirs, where they're not having to work with a realtor that doesn't match their values or a borrower that is just so nasty that they don't have to do that because they don't need that one commission. It's nice, and I commend you on that thing. I wish I had been taught that earlier in my life too, because thankfully for me it happened, but it happened later, and but at least it happened, so that's a good thing. So
All right. Well, good stuff. Well, we could talk about this on and on and on because, man, we have learned a lot. As I'm sure, people listening, man, I'd love to hear what some of you guys and gals, what you've learned. And hey, just real quick. So Kevin Broughton and I worked together. Kevin, where we built one of the largest branches in volume. Not, there might be a lot more people in some, but ours, we have a knack for getting people to close more loans, right? By giving them the things they need to make that happen.
right.
And hey, if you'd like to talk to Kevin and see, some of the things that we might offer over here, well, we'd love to have that conversation. And so if you go to talking to Lauren, and her name is spelled Lauren. So talkingtolauren.com, and she'll set you up on the calendar with either myself and Kevin. And if nothing else, we can bounce ideas back and forth about what's working best over here, so you can implement it right where you are over there. And frankly, we might ask you some questions, see what you guys are doing, and maybe you'll help us make some changes that we're doing over here. Because
And
one
yeah,
thing I've
and
always
Lauren,
learned, Ken.
I'm sorry, Lauren's an incredible teammate of ours, and she's just totally
Oh,
top shelf,
You're
and
you're
so
go-
yeah,
you're gonna want to talk to Lauren. So
yeah,
Lauren has very
absolutely.
rapidly moved to my board of directors, and very, 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 very smart lady. Like, really got it going on. So talkingtolauren.com. So I think that's it, man. We
Well,
good?
thanks, buddy. I appreciate every time I get to chat with you uninterrupted for a half hour makes my day. So thanks so much for your partnership, your friendship, and more importantly, and just for everything. You've helped me in ways that I'll always be grateful for.
You make me a better me, Kevin. I appreciate you,
Yeah,
brother. We'll see you.
right back at you. Take care, man.